Okay, so today's question comes from Daniel Flowers, and Daniel asked, I would love to hear what are your favorite methods of traffic? Also, what are your thoughts on strategic alliances? Okay, this was a game changer for me. What I'm about to tell you was an absolute game changer for me because when I got into, despite the fact having built an offline business, when I got into the offline space, or the online space rather, the first thing I did was get in Gary Vee syndrome. And honestly, I found myself falling into Gary Vee syndrome a lot. I love Gary Vee. Let me qualify this. I love Gary Vee. I think he is such a necessary voice and has brought so much around bringing attention to entrepreneurship. I think in every single way, it's been a positive. However, some of his orthodoxies and mantras about just create content, the person that wins is the person that creates most content, has put people down a path of just creating stuff for the sake of creating stuff with no real intention. It also then ties into people's perceived need for vanity, right? The game becomes about likes and engagement and comments, not about, okay, did we actually drive people? And Instagram is the perfect example of this. And I challenge people to do this. Go to your Google Analytics, if you even have that set up on your site. And if you don't, you absolutely should. So YouTube, how to get Google Analytics set up on your site. See how much traffic you're driving from all these various traffic mediums. Because the best decisions in business are made in numbers. If you're not driving, and honestly, Instagram is at the bottom of the list for me in terms of what drives traffic. In fact, when I started my YouTube channel, within 6 months of my YouTube channel, and I had maybe 100 subscribers, I was already driving more traffic from those videos to my site than I was with 7,000 plus followers on Instagram. It is not a good platform for driving traffic to your site. It doesn't mean that it's not worth your time. So I'm gonna talk you through all this and tell you how it fits into your holistic marketing strategy in a way that I think is most conducive. So let's talk about number one, which I mentioned was pros pay for traffic. Pros pay for traffic. What they do is they have an offer. They have an audience that they know is established. They know how to speak to. They spend a lot of time in making sure they craft that offer and crafting what that value ladder needs to look like. So let me talk to you about what that would look like for me, right? And I'm going to give you one that I think could work well for you. One of my most successful ones right now at this moment is I run a quiz as an ad, right? It's a lead conversion campaign on Facebook. And it says, what type of business should you start? Now, it takes you through a series of 8 to 10 questions. And at the end of that, it diagnoses you. It says, here are the different types. I have 5 different business type owners that I've designated myself, what that means. And then you get the what type of business should you start report sent via email. Okay. I then provide an offer for you to go to invite, and it's an invitation to a class you can attend. It's a 40-minute class. And it's called How to Get Your First 100 Customers in Just 100 Days, even if you're starting from scratch, right? So that is the natural progression of that. I can spend $5 to $10 a day, get people going through that quiz and getting them onto a webinar that is effectively going to provide an offer to make a sale. And that does that regardless of what it is that I'm doing, right? I could be sleeping, I could not be working, whatever. I turn that thing on. If I have an offer and a sales mechanism and an engagement sequence that takes them through that process, as well as an email follow-up sequence, that is a sales machine that is going to sell regardless of what I do. So I don't have to be on the social media hamster wheel all the time for that to continue to work. There's nothing better than, and I challenge you to do this, put $5 to $10 today and just run a video or a campaign on Facebook for video views. You will see how much more views you get from that than what you'll get from doing something organically on social media. It's just, you get more eyeballs in your stuff, period. So the pros, they understand that. Now the pros understand this. They don't just run ads for the sake of running ads because they know they're just going to be putting their money in the abyss of nothingness and getting nothing in return. They make sure they have that sales mechanism that I talked about, so that basically it's like Facebook is like printing money, because every time you spend $200, you know you're going to make $1,000 in return. So you just amplify that, and you touch different audiences, and you have splintered off campaigns. You have different mechanisms that you can run. You run to an epic blog post. You run to a basic lead magnet, a PDF download. You run to a quiz, like I mentioned. You go straight to a webinar. You retarget to that webinar if people got the results but didn't go to the webinar. Those are all ways you can add on to that, where you can be spending, work your way up, $5,000 to $10,000 a day, and you're guaranteed to double that, or at least recoup that within the first 90 days. That's what the pros do. That's what I've begun to start the process of doing. Now, my second favorite source is this, and this is more long form, or long term rather, than what I just mentioned, because you can do what I just mentioned in a matter of a couple of months. Really get that set up, get that sales system built, and start learning how to run ads, knowing what you're doing on ads, not just boosting a post, knowing what you're doing on ads. Then I like search platforms, all right? They're more long term. It's going to take a longer time. It's going to feel painful, like building a YouTube channel, but long term, it's going to live forever, and you'll have videos perform better over time. You'll have blogs do better over time. So 3 years down the road, you're driving traffic to a blog you wrote because it was relevant to your audience, and it was a really well-written blog that Google likes and wants to show it to more people. And if you have an opt-in on that page, which you could be running ads to already, awesome. Now you're getting emails already, building your email list, and you don't have to stay on the hamster wheel. Notice I'm going to mention that a lot, hamster wheel stuff. Then third, I mentioned there were 3, is then nurture. And I consider in the nurture bucket anything that's not search, okay? So Instagram, not search. TikTok, not search. Facebook, not search. LinkedIn, not search, all right? The only one that's in that bucket, and we didn't mention this before with the search platforms, is Pinterest. Pinterest is highly underrated. And I would say also with people with Pinterest, they're where with intention. They're there with intention. They're there because they're thinking about doing something in their home. They're there because they're thinking about doing something with their wardrobe. They're there because they're looking for ideas to go spend money, right? They're not just there to see what cat videos and funny stuff, right? Like you would on social media. So the pattern disruption is not as strong. And also it lives because it is a search platform. I'm telling you, something people aren't looking into. So here's what you can do and what I'd recommend you look into because this is where it's hard. People look at those exclusively. And a lot of people are making this mistake too, by the way. They're like, oh, well, Chris says pros pay for traffic, so I'm just going to run paid. There's a way for all these things to come together. In fact, a lot of people that just run ads, they're completely unaware and out of touch and don't have a finger on the pulse of their audience. Why? Because they're not putting out content. Because every comment I get on YouTube or every time I put out a video, I see what resonates and what doesn't. Every time I do something on social media, I see what resonates and what doesn't. So I like to use social media, A, to nurture, A, to long-term build an audience, but also to keep my finger on the pulse of what's actually going on and what those people actually want. Because otherwise you're just guessing and then you're no better off than you were before. So build that first, but I would find a way to have those all seamlessly working together. Just make sure you prioritize them in that order if you want to follow my orthodoxy. That's what my recommendation is. Okay, next is what are my thoughts on strategic alliances? So I call it collaboration. You call it strategic partner, strategic alliance, whatever. It's all the same thing. Love it, love it, love it. When you hear people say growth hacks, that is the only true growth hack. It is literally the only true growth hack that is proven across every single business, and it's not temporary. Because you could talk about growth hacks. Oh, the algorithm on TikTok is blue, it's wide open. Everybody, yeah, okay, for the next 6 months. And then it's back to everything else. It's back to pay to play. It's back to where Instagram is now, which is what? You're not building your audience organically unless you're already established and huge. And you have something else that's driving, like YouTube channel is driving people to follow you on Instagram. So it's not going to work. So you can chase around the shiny objects, and that's a fool's pursuit because then you're coming into it not knowing if that's actually going to drive traffic to your site, and it probably won't. It's good to let people you still know exist. It's good to get engagement. It's not good for conversion. It's not good for persuasion. It's just not. Collaboration is a phenomenal way for you to build your email list to 5,000 people right out of the gates or to increase it by that size pretty quickly. Collaboration is a way to tap into what somebody else is doing and share customers. Collaboration is a way for you to get eyeballs on what you do to a lot of other people, right? So being able to create relationships, and I use this with my podcast all the time. I'm collaborating with other people because guess what? If I go to launch something, I reach out to that entire list of over 300 people and say, hey, I'm doing a launch. Are you interested in being an affiliate? Because you could blast out your email list and send them to my webinar, and I'll give you a 50% affiliate commission. And now I'm reaching hundreds of thousands of email subscribers that I maybe don't have myself. That is a growth hack. And that's not going away. Until there's something way more advanced than email, right? And that's not going to happen. It's just not. In terms of delivery, it's just not going to happen. That is where you want to be, right? We talk about building your email list all the time. That's where you want to be. If you can collaborate with people that have a bigger audience than you, specifically your email is bigger than what you have, that is the best way to go about doing it. Now, it's very important when you approach these strategic alliances or these strategic partners, collaborative partners, you have to make it make sense for them. You can't just come in and say, hey, I'm brand new and this is what I do and I'm expecting a handout. You can't do that. You have to lead with value. Make it make sense for them. Make it a no-brainer for them. It should be an obvious yes or else it's going to be a no. And you need to make sure that whatever you're packaging up, whatever it is you're trying to get them sold on, it needs to be a slam dunk for them. And if it's not, you need to go back to the drawing board. And it may mean you haven't done enough work yet to get to that point, or you need to start a little bit lower. You need to start with somebody that's more in your space, more at your season of business as far as how far along you guys are. And then it has to make sense for both of you too, because you're both in that hustle phase. So that would be my advice. But yes, absolutely 100%. And it's something that not enough people take advantage of. In fact, I would say a lot of people with products tapping into micro influencer marketing, right? Where you're basically sending something like a product to somebody that has 20,000 followers on Instagram and then having them talk about that product is a phenomenal way. In fact, I know many business owners that have really, really grown their businesses quickly doing what I just mentioned. So hope that helps, man. Great question, Daniel. I've seen you've been engaging with a lot of my stuff lately on YouTube. Highly recommend the rest of you do the same as well, like my buddy Daniel here has done. And if you have questions about your business you want me to address like I just did here today, drop those in the comments below. You can also reach out on social media. I'm at HeyCMH. If it ain't at HeyCMH, it's not me, all right? Anybody else that might be posturing to me, or you see a picture, it's not. If it's not HeyCMH, it's not something I'm active on, or it's not me at all. So drop those questions in the comments. Don't forget to like this video. It helps the algorithm like crazy. Speaking of algorithms, don't forget to hit subscribe as well. And this is huge now because the YouTube algorithm has changed. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications, or you probably won't ever see one of these videos again. If you have a friend that needs to see this video, make sure to share that with a friend as well, or share it on your social media. And I will see you guys in the next one.